कुंज हरि जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनच यमुना तीरावनच जय राधा माधव जय जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज यशोदनंदन व्रज जनर यमुना तीरा वनचारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद नित्याय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्याय गौर हरि बोल जय ओम विष्णु पाद परम परिवार आचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री ऐसी स्वामी सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय कलियुग पावन तुलसी महारानी की जय श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय Hare Krishna, dear Prabhuji and Mataji, Dandavad Pranam at your lotus feet. Thank you so much for joining in for a blissful Bhagavatam morning. Let us all first do some Mangalachana prayers and then. Okay. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajiv Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते कदम्बकानन स्वामी नामिने। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्री गुरुदास जयाद्वैत स्वामी नामिने। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। नमो ब्राह्मण्य देवाय गो ब्राह्मणाहिताय च जगद्दिताय कृष्णाय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। ओम पवित्रो पवित्रो वा सर्वावस्थागतो यत्स्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्ष सबाह्याभ्यन्तरं शुचिः। ओम श्री विष्णु श्री विष्णु। First of all, my Sastanga pranams to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Radha Madhava. Then I offer my Sastanga pranams to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada and my revered Guru Deva, His Holiness Kadambakananda Swami Maharaja and Param Guru Srila Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj. And then I would like to offer my Sastanga pranam to each one of you, dear Prabhujis and Matajis. Let us all continue to Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you so much for joining in. Srinivas Sita Prabhuji, Shashank Prabhuji, Sri Hari Prabhuji, Neelima Mataji, Srivalli Mataji, Savita Mataji, Tanotama. With your permission, I would like to speak a bit on Srimad Bhagavatam. Here is a living proof of how Gauranga Mahaprabhu is Patita Pavana. By giving a chance to a person like me, there is a great hope to all the people, no matter in which level they are in, there is a great hope, right? So, no qualification at all, but the devotees and the Supreme Lord are so merciful and they give chance to even a person like me. So I beg for your permission and blessing so that some nice words come with help of all of you. Okay. Yes, we are reading Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam, which is full of nectar. You open one page among these thousands of lakhs of pages and just try to read any of the, little bit of translations, your heart is automatically happy, right? Then we are just a continuing journey for many years now. We started with the creation and the cosmic manifestation, where the technicalities of the creation has been explained. Then the status quo, the third canto starts with Maitreya, Vidura leaving the house. Actually Vidura sent out by Duryodhan, and then there is great things comes with Uddhava meeting the Lord and getting the opulence from the Lord, and then the great meeting of Uddhava and Vidura there. Then Vidura, Krishna has to leave the world. Vidura continues to Maitreya Muni and asks many questions. Amazing things are there. Then comes Mother Devahutis and Kapila Devas, Vrittanta there. Then fourth order, creative impetus and prescribed duties for mankind. And the seventh one is, for most of them, 10th canto is the most, appealing. Then after that, it's the signs of God, because there is Prahlad Maharaja in that. And our revered Vaishnava speaking so wonderfully in various chapters, how the Supreme Lord is equal, with Narada Muni explaining the greatness of the Lord there, telling to, Kayadu, when Prahlad Maharaj was there in the womb. Then Hiranyakashipu starts to do the Gora Tapasya to Brahmadeva and becomes almost immortal, almost. And then once he gets the power, terrorize the universe, occupies the Indra Loka and all three lokas for that matter. And then it was, mantra was not Om Namo Narayanaya Namaha anymore. It was Om Namo Hiranyakashipaya Namaha, something like that. Then Prahlad Maharaj learns about the Lord in the womb. He comes out and go to Shanda and Amarka. Then Narsimha Deva, when asked, is your Lord in this pillar? Then he comes from the pillar and slays Hiranyakashipu. Then Prahlad Maharaja was the only one who could pacify Narsimha Deva out of that anger. Then he doesn't want any kingdom to rule, but he wants the seva of the Lord. But the Lord also gives spiritual benefits, and when a devotee becomes to that stage, he also bestows him some material enjoyment also. So he gives the kingdom to rule for many, many years. And then the conversation continues, the beautifully explained last two chapters for, Varna and Ashrama. Then see Kali Yuga, how it is progressing. A person, the most imperfect person, has to speak about the behavior of a person today. That is 14th chapter. Let us not make it monologue. Please try to speak sometimes. So it becomes like a conversation. Where can I see your lotus faces? Video panel. Don't know where that is. Okay. Yes. The behavior of a perfect person. Dasraj Prabhuji was covering first 15, 16 things, This is pure nectar, What happens when we read Bhagavatam? What actually happens, Keshav Maharaj tells, it's good if I see your faces. Floating panel. Okay. Because I don't know who is in the call now. Keshav Maharaj puts it this way. Devotees most of the time complains, that I'm not progressing, Prabhuji, the life is so dry, so many anarthas are there. I'm really frustrated, but he puts it so wonderfully. Keshav Maharaj is a person who makes life so beautiful, devotees' lives very beautiful. He tells, why are you seeing this dirt now? When we see a room, for example, some room anywhere, it's usually clean. Devotees usually keep the houses clean. My house is an exception, but I'm talking about devotees. They are clean, we feel everything is good. For example, temple hall, we have our Bhakti Center, Gachibowli. It's very clean. When Prabhuji comes, we clean the tables and everything. But if you really go into a corner and look for some dust here and there, we find some dust, on the table somewhere near the books, you find it. And when you see that, we feel like, this is dust. It's not good. But it's very common that dust accumulates, and you don't usually clean every nook and corner of the room. Right? Keshav Maharaj puts it this way. Devotees also, they have started the cleaning process. And before also, all these anarthas were in us. Before also, all the tendencies were in us. But we didn't feel much of the, frustration, depression. We didn't feel much before. Right? Why? Because we were seeing from the surface, the normal room, and we were thinking that room is clean. But when you start becoming a devotee, slowly, you go to the every nook and corner and see for the dust. And when you see that dust, it feels like, hey, there is dust. And it is not so good. But Keshav Maharaj would say this is cleaning process. And this dust was not visible before, but visible now, because we have started cleaning process. We have going to every nook and corner of the room to see if there is dust. Same with us. We are going to every nook and corner of our heart and mind, and we are looking if there is this dust. Of course, there is dust, right? 100%. And we are starting to see it is a great news. Srila Prabhupada also puts when some people complained, hey, Prabhupada, these devotees on the name of devotees, they are doing so much nonsense. What is this? Then Srila Prabhupada said, please forgive us if we have done some mistake. But we are taking shower. Many of these people are taking shower. So you cannot complain a person that he is dirty while he is in the bathroom and taking shower. They are taking shower. The dirt will go after they have taken a shower, right? So we are in the middle of the process. Please tolerate for some more time. It's an Indian person, I think, was complaining some things about Western devotees from Srila Prabhupada. They have come from very dirty places. They are taking shower now, and then it takes a little time. That's how Srila Prabhupada was most merciful. That's how he made all these Vaishnavas or gurus for us, right? Then like that, Narada Muni started speaking yesterday, a person able to cultivate spiritual knowledge should renounce all material connections and merely keeping the body inhabitable. He should travel from one place to another, passing only one night in each village. In this way, without dependence in regard to the needs of the body, the sannyasi should travel all over the world. What happens when we read all these things, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, what happens is we start to see this dust in us, the dirt in us. And then when we read about these wonderful, great personalities, they stick to us. Somewhere just by attending even a little bit inattentively, if some of these goes into our brain, that is functioning. Hey, Prabhuji and Mataji, that is really, really functioning. One, I don't remember. Let me spend one more minute here, please. I think this is important. In chapter 13, there is a section which struck me when I love to read Bhagavad Gita in Telugu, because that really goes into heart. And not telling something great or something, but at a very tender age, this part of Bhagavad Gita, I remember some of these, they really helped in my life. I have done all the nonsense in life, but some of these words, just by reading them, they helped me a lot. What Krishna tells here: humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance. Are you able to see my screen, Prabhuji and Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadfastness, self-control, renunciation of objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge. And besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. Just imagine, dear Prabhuji and Mataji, a student, a boy or girl of 9 and 10 years old, if they heartfully read this verse, if some of these words goes into their brain, do you think that's the best help? Right? Aversion from the group meetings, constant unalloyed devotion to Krishna, aspiring to live in a solitary place. This I remembered many, many, many times in my life, Prabhuji. Yes, I have spent time with groups, friends, wasted so much time, but this was somewhere in the back of the mind, And our Siksha Guru Mata, we can say, Anuradha Mataji tells. Her grandmother used to tell them, just before sleeping, tell many, many stories. And they are a big family. And then just before sleeping, She used to tell Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, before they sleep. This was a kind of a thing to do every day, you know. And do you think that helped Mataji? And she has become, you know, savior of all of us. So these samskaras really go in. So by reading and attending Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, these things are also happening to us. Please do not think nothing is happening. You know, yes, the effort should be all definitely there. And by listening to Dasraj Prabhuji's lecture yesterday about the qualities of a great person, you know, you really listening, you acquire them. And it was so beautiful to read yesterday. The sannyasi should always try to see the supreme pervading everything and see everything, you know, including this universe resting on supreme. Today's thing is also a little big, so I don't go a little deep into this, but where we start is so beautiful. Then Prahlad Maharaja, you know, there is also a thriller today, you know, we are going to see a wonderful sadhu. You need to guess throughout who is this sadhu. Okay, let's make it a little interesting there. We're starting from 16 today. Let's read 15 what happened yesterday. The advanced devotee Prahlad Maharaja duly worshipped and offered obeisances to saintly person who had adopted a python's mean of livelihood. After thus worshipping the saintly person and touching his own head to the saint's lotus feet, Prahlad Maharaja, in order to understand him, inquired very submissively as follows. Okay, Prahlad Maharaja seen some person who is just lying on the Nela, earth. And then he touched his head to his feet, did Sastanga Dandavat Pranam. Then he is inquiring from submissively. Before that, dear Prabhujis and Matajis, would you like to share any point? Can you kindly comment on a point how Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is helping us just, you know, by attending? Can one of you please speak? Is that helping you? If that is, how?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it is fully helping for me. It is nearly more than 200%.
Hare Krishna. Unfortunately, I cannot
After
see Prabhuji.
after I have joined in this satsang, I got much interest. I am not leaving any class. To that level, I have got opportunity. You know. Everybody are telling excellently. Dandavat pranams to all gurus and Gachibowli Satsang and our Janit Satsang also. I have to do Dandavat pranams many times.
Yes, Prabhuji. They are the only savior.
Very useful knowledge.
Hare
Bhagavad Gita also, and even Bhagavatam. By this Bhagavatam, the Satsang I have learned some slokas also.
Let us offer our koti pranams.
Koti pranamalu. Koti
Divine
pranamalu.
grace, AC Bhaktivedanta
Yes,
Swami Prabhupada
yeah.
Prabhu.
Hare
All
Krishna.
his frontline warriors. All our Gachibowli Satsang and all Satsang frontline.
So many people, Deepa Mataji and Lavanya Mataji, this
Just in our heart, let us
in Veda group, from Veda group, and from Saturday and Sunday satsangs.
just in our heart,
Very,
let us wash their lotus feet and say Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Hare Krishna, yeah.
Hare
You have to wash your
Krishna.
feet and drink that water.
Yes, Prabhuji, let us say one mantra for all of them. Okay.
Yes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Let us wash all their lotus feet within our heart. Okay?
Yeah.
By saying the mantra. Hare
Yes.
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
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 Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Ram.
Ram, Ram, Hare.
We are all eternally grateful for them.
Yeah.
Today's texts are long actually. Let us start. Nandra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bibarshikayam pivanam sodamya bhagavan yata vittam chaivodyamavatam bhogo vittavatam iha bhoginam kaludehiyam piva bhavati nanayata. Translation. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. seeing the saintly person to be quite fat. Prahlad Maharaja said, "My dear sir, you undergo no endeavor to earn your livelihood, but you have a stout body, exactly like that of a materialistic enjoyer. I know that if one is very rich and has nothing to do, he becomes extremely fat by eating and sleeping and performing no work." Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did not like his disciple to become very fat. Very, very important instruction coming, dear Prabhujis and Matajis. Let's see. Become very fat in the course of time. He would become very anxious upon seeing his fat disciples becoming bogis or enjoyers of the senses. This attitude his ear with confirmed by Prahlad Maharaja, who was surprised to see a saintly person adopting Ajagara Vritti or becoming very fat. In the material world also, we generally see that when a man who is poor and skinny gradually endeavors to earn money through business or some other means, and he then gets the money, he enjoys the senses to his satisfaction. By enjoying these senses, one becomes fat. Therefore, in spiritual advancement, becoming fat is not at all satisfactory. Self-explanatory, na? The instruction suits me. If it suits us, we have an instruction from our lion guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj ki jai. So Prahlad Maharaj has seen a very fat sadhu lying on the earth, and he is inquiring. He is surprised to see he is also a sadhu and also fat. What is the reason? It's very interesting to see that. Hare Krishna. Can one of you please volunteer? You can choose whether to read Sanskrit or no. You choose.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'll try.
Hare Krishna, Amma, please go ahead.
Nate shayanasya nirodhyamasya brahmano harto yata eva bhoga abhogina yam tava vipradeha vivayatastad vadanaha kshamam cheta. Translations and purports by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: O Brahmana, fully in knowledge and transcendence, you have nothing to do and therefore you are lying down. It is also understood that you have no money for sense enjoyment. How then has the body become so fat? Under the circumstances, if you do not consider my question impudent, kindly explain how this has happened. Purport: generally, those engaged in spiritual advancement take food only once, either in the afternoon or in the evening. If one takes food only once, naturally he does not become fat. The learned sage, however, was quite fat, and therefore Prahlad Maharaj was very much surprised. Because of being experienced in self-realization, a transcendentalist certainly becomes bright-faced, and one who is advanced in self-realization must be considered to possess the body of a Brahmana. Because the bright-faced saintly person was lying down and not working and yet was quite fat, Prahlad Maharaj was puzzled and wanted to question him about this. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Is it not very interesting, Mataji? A sadhu is also.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji.
And we can observe Prahlad Maharaja's behavior here, a little bit. How to ask a question, inquire from a question. If you do not consider my question impudent, kindly explain how this has happened. This appreciation also we will see in coming verses. But in Telugu we have one wonderful saying. Noru manchidaite, uru manchidaitundi. If your mouth is good, the entire village is good to you. We can observe this in many, many people's example, for those whose speech is very nice. We see our Lilananda Prabhuji. Especially you have to see when he talks to devotees personally, one-to-one. Lectures, and we all know, but personally, how he speaks, that really connects people one-to-one. We see Srila Prabhupada's letters, sometimes he writes, "My dear child." We can see that speech here a little bit. Yes, Prabhujis and Matajis, please take the next one. Hare Krishna, anyone wants to volunteer, please? Then I will take it.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam. Can I?
Dandavad Pranam, please, please.
Okay, 7.13.19 now, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
कविः कल्पो निपुणदिक् चित्तप्रिय कथः समः लोकस्य कुर्वतः कर्मशेषे तद्वीक्षितापि वा. Translation. Your Honor appears learned, expert and intelligent in every way. You can speak very well, saying things that are pleasing to the heart. You see that people in general are engaged in fruitive activities, yet you are lying here inactive. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prahlad Maharaj studied the bodily features of the saintly person, and through the saint's physiognomy, Prahlad Maharaj could understand that he was intelligent and expert. Although he was lying down and not doing anything, Prahlad was naturally inquisitive about why he was lying there inactive. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, there is a new word here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and my Param Guru Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj. They made the literature very rich, even in a Mlecha language, right? Physiognomy means face reading. I was searching yesterday. Face reading, a devotee's feature is also, especially when we go to my Gurudev, when he see Western devotees, and then they used to ask Guru Maharaj, I have problems like this, after coming from New York somewhere, when they meet in Vrindavan. Last year was very tough and all these things. Guru Maharaj used to say, I can see your face, and then I can see what nonsense you all did this year, like that, So we also go to senior Vaishnavas with questions when we are distressed under these things, right? For example, like Radhesham Prabhu or Lilananda Prabhuji. Just by looking at our body language, they pretty much guess many things, And my wife was so astonished to meet with Narahari Prabhu and talk to him in starting. He was telling, 90% of my character, not even without talking to me once. So these Vaishnavas, fixed up devotees, they have this thing, just by looking at the scene there, Prahlad Maharaj could understand the case, he could see that he is a sadhu, definitely. He didn't even talk to him, he just saw at this point, right? But then why this sadhu is lying here inactive was a question in Prahlad Maharaj's mind. He is asking him, and the next one, please. Can one of you please take? Then I will take it. Shri Narada Uvacha Sahitam
I'll
Daitya.
read Prabhuji.
Yes, Amma, please go ahead.
Sri Narada Uvacha Sa Itham Daityapatina Pariproshto Mahamuni Smayamanastam Abhyayaha Tadvagamrita Yantritaha. Translation. Narada Muni continued. When the saintly person was thus questioned by Prahlad Maharaj, the king of Daityas, he was captivated by his shower of nectarian words, and he replied to the inquisitiveness of Prahlad Maharaj with a smiling face.
Hari Bol. Yes. He became happy by this, the saintly person, just by listening to the words of Prahlad Maharaja, became happy. So he had a smiling face, and he tells his appreciative words in the next verse. Mother, you want to take this one also because you had a very small verse? Yes, anyone kindly unmute and take it, please. Then I will take it. Shri Brahmana Uvacha Vededam Asura Shreshta Bhavannan Varya Sammataha Iho Paramayornam Padanyadvatma Adhyatma Chakshusha. The saintly Brahmana said, O best of the Asuras, Prahlad Maharaja, who are recognized by advanced and civilized men, you are aware of the different stages of life. because of your inherent transcendental eyes, with which you can see a man's character and thus know clearly the results of acceptance and rejection of things as they are. Purport. A pure devotee like Prahlad Maharaj can understand the minds of others because of his pure vision in devotional service. A devotee like Prahlad Maharaj can study another man's character without difficulty. Yes, that's just what we have talked, right, some time ago. That devotees like that, they can read people's characters without much difficulty. Do you have any examples, dear Prabhujis and Matijis? Did you notice this? Hare Krishna. Yes. One of you want to take 13.22, please?
I'll read the translation, Prabhu.
Yes,
Son
Prabhu.
of
Yes.
Mandana.
Yes, please.
Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is full of all opulences, is predominant within the core of your heart. Because of your being a pure devotee, he always drives away all the darkness of ignorance, as the sun drives away the darkness of the universe.
Please go ahead, Prabhuji. Purport.
Purport by His Divine Srila Prabhupada. The words Bhakta Kaivalya indicate the indicate that simply by executing devotional service, one can become full of all knowledge. Krishna is the master of all knowledge. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yasya shriyaya. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridesha Arjuna
Ishtati.
Ishtati. And when the Lord is pleased with a devotee, the Lord instructs him. Only to the devotees, however, does the Lord give instructions by which to advance further and further in devotional service. To others, the non-devotees, the Lord gives instructions according to the manner of their surrender. The pure devotee is described by the words Bhakta Kevalya. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur explains that Bhaktya Kevalya means Jnana Karmadya Amishriya, unmixed with fruitive activities or speculative knowledge. Simply surrendering at the lotus feet is the cause of all devotees' enlightenment and awareness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, then the conversation continues. When the Lord is there in the heart, the nonsense is not there. We can observe one thing. We sit in a nice kirtan or a wonderful lecture. Do you think it's easy to get wrong desires? Do you think it's easy to get thoughts about I'm telling, when we concentrating on doing that, you are hearing to Gauranga Darshan lecture, you are really into it. You are situating the Lord in your heart. Is it possible that we can think of some nonsense? Very tough. One thing may happen if we are thinking of nonsense and there is no Krishna Katha going inside. Correct? And then as the sun comes and when the sun comes, there is no place for darkness. Similarly, here, Bhaktya Kevalaya, for a person who Kevalam, only there is Bhakti, then no chance for him to this thing. And one thing appealed so much to me in last lecture of Gauranga Darshan Prabhuji, how come these devotees are like the brahmacharis and sannyasi Maharaj, or especially the fixed up full-time devotees? How come they maintain this? Despite the Vatavaran, the environment is so much polluted, How can they maintain this thing? And then he told one wonderful analogy there. He was going to airport, then the traffic was too much. He hardly made it to the airport the last minute, because too much traffic, red light, green light, yellow light, these things. And then he took a plane. Then he thought the signal lights and traffic problems for only those who are going on the road. For a person who has taken a plane, these signal lights don't bother him. These rules don't apply to him. So we should endeavor to go to that plane. Gurudev also writes in his book, Guru Disciple, this thing, For a plane, all these things are not needed. And also there is one more analogy from Gurudev, when you have taken a plane, you should go with 800 km/h speed. And you cannot, reduce the speed. If you reduce the speed, what is the fuel? What is the speed here? It's association of devotees. And if you reduce the speed or fuel goes down, what happens to a plane? It's 100% that it goes down. What keeps the plane there is constant speed and fuel. And that speed and fuel is devotees. Lilananda Prabhuji presses on, not skipping the Sunday classes. That's what happens. If we are not with devotees, 100% the plane is going down. You also have so much help when the plane is in the parking lot, There are people coming, checking screws, checking the tires and air pressure and fuel level, everything. There is much help, That's what is devotees. That's Sunday feast lectures, weekly programs and festivals. But then when the plane goes up, there is no support, and then we need to maintain the speed, still continue the association and take shelter of Bhagavatam and daily reading and our japa. So when Krishna is there, the darkness is not there. And we are feeling there is darkness, which means what? Krishna is not there. So we invite Krishna with each bed. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. And we do what? Pull the bed, japa bed, our side or opposite side? Our side, right? We are pulling Krishna. So that's nice there. We invite Krishna and drive away the darkness. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji and Mataji, kindly help me with the next verse. Those who have read also can take if nobody else is taking.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'm sorry. It was not, I couldn't unmute my thing. I'm sorry. That's all. Yeah.
No problem. We couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, now I could. So 23rd shloka, Prabhu. Tadhapi brumam, I'm sorry. Tadhapi brumahe prashnam stavarajan yadhashrutam sambhashaniyo hi bhavanatmanaha shuddhimicchata. My dear king, although you know everything, you have posed some questions, which I shall try to answer according to what I have learned by hearing from authorities. I cannot remain silent in this regard, for a personality like you is just fit to be spoken to by one who desires self-purification.
Please go ahead.
Shall I go with the purport also?
Yes.
Okay. A saintly person doesn't wish to speak to anyone and everyone, and he is therefore grave and silent. Generally, a common man does not need to be advised unless one is prepared to take instructions. It is said that a saintly person should not address him, although sometimes, because of great kindness, a saintly person speaks to ordinary men. As for Prahlad Maharaja, however, since he was not a common, ordinary man, whatever questions he posed would have to be answered, even by a great and exalted personality. Therefore, the saintly Brahmana did not remain silent, but began to answer. These answers, however, were not consent by him. This is indicated by the words, Yadhashrutam, meaning as I have heard from the authorities. In the Parampara system, when the questions are bona fide, the answers are bona fide. No one should attempt to create or manufacture answers. One must refer to the Shastras and give answers according to Vedic understanding. The words Yadhashrutam refer to Vedic knowledge. The Vedas are known as Shruti because this knowledge is received from authorities. Prabhuji, can you scroll up? The statements of the Vedas are known as Shruti Pramana. One should quote evidence from the Shruti, the Vedas or Vedic literature, and one's statements will be correct. Otherwise, one's words will proceed from mental conclusion. Hare Krishna.
Correct. Yes, Mataji. We can see the happiness in saints' behavior here, you know. He seems very happy. When a personality like you is just fit to be spoken to by one who desires self-purification. And yes, what he answers is also amazing. That's coming next. Yes, Prabhuji and Mataji, please take the next one.
I can do 24, Prabhuji. If you take it.
Yes, yes, Amma, please go ahead. But you can choose whether to read Sanskrit or not.
Yeah, I'll choose to do that. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Text 24. Trishnaya bhavavahinya yogye kamera puryaya karmani karyamanoham nana yonishu yojita. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Because of insatiable material desires, I was being carried away by the waves of material nature's laws, and thus I was engaging in different activities, struggling for existence in various forms of life. Purport. As long as a living entity wants to fulfill various types of material desire, he must continuously change from one body to accept another. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that as a small piece of grass falls in a river and is tossed about with different types of wood and tree branches, the living entity floats in the ocean of material existence and is dashed and tossed amidst material conditions. This is called the struggle for existence. One kind of fruitive activity causes the living being to take one form of body, and because of actions performed in that body, another body is created. One must therefore stop these material activities, and the chance to do so is given in the human form of life. Specifically, our energy to act should be engaged in the service of the Lord, for then materialistic activities will automatically stop. One must fulfill one's desires by surrendering unto the Supreme Lord, for He knows how to fulfill them. Even though one may have material desires, one should therefore engage in the devotional service of the Lord. That will purify one's struggle for existence. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desire, without any material desire, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. Bhagavatam 2.3.10. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord, Krishna, favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.1.11.
Hari Hari Bol. Amazing instruction. The sadhu started. Mataji, you want to speak any words on what we have read? You know, very profound verse and purport. Deepa Mataji, you want to say anything?
It's basically self-explanatory, but this is very true that desire is the root cause of all material entanglement. So earlier also, like I was mentioning, once one has a desire, there are in the material world, and the desire is not, Krishna is not present in that desire. Then it becomes a material desire. And
Hare
material desire, it can only lead to anarthas. I have taken this many times, but at the cost of repetition. Because what happens is that when you have a desire, you can have only byproduct as anartha. So you want something, desire means again, you have a thought and then you contemplate on it and it becomes a deep desire, it becomes kama.
Hare Krishna.
You fulfill the desire, you get lobha. You don't fulfill the desire, somebody else fulfills the desire, you get envy and jealousy. You fulfill the desire, you get pride. And when you get lobha, you want more and more, right? There will be a stage when you can't fulfill the desire because you have fulfilled the next desire, next desire, next desire. But there'll be some stage where it will not be fulfilled because it keeps going on like that. And again, this cycle continues of krodha and anger, frustration, fall down, like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya are the byproducts of any material desire. You can't have a good result out of any material desire. And that is how birth after birth, like you said in the beginning, we are accumulating the dust. The dust, what are the dust? Is the anarthas only. How is the dust accumulating when you're closing the door and keeping it locked? You're not cleaning the anarthas. And the dust keeps accumulating in the room of our hearts of anarthas, life after life, life after life. Imagine every day we have 40,000 thoughts, so many desire, and every desire has some byproduct of anartha. So one day, what about 100 years? And what about millions of lifetimes of that many years? And
Hare
the anarthas are getting accumulated, and the only thing which has the power to cleanse those anarthas is something which is superior to the material, and that is the transcendental. And that is the reason why, like you asked, what is the importance of reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, is actually because that is transcendental. It is directly descended from the spiritual world. The sound vibration,
Yes, Mother.
literally incarnation. Only that has the power to cleanse the anarthas. Nothing else has the power. And therefore, when you read them, the anarthas slowly start cleansing. Krishna enters through the ear holes, sits on the lotus bud of the heart, and starts putting chipru. He starts blooming.
Hare
And then
Krishna.
what will happen? The anarthas will fly in the air. They'll start throwing on our face. That's why initially when somebody starts spiritual practices, they find a lot of disturbances in, and suddenly they think of giving up the spiritual practice, thinking that this is actually caused. I was so happy before, I was peaceful, and that this is actually causing disturbance in my life. But that is just the initial cleaning. Obviously, so many millions of years you have kept the heart closed to the cleansing. So obviously there'll be some dust on your face and
Yes.
get some cough and cold, but you should not leave the practice. If you continue, if you just scale through that practice of the initial disturbances, then the life becomes very joyful and peaceful. So that is what is my understanding and realization, personal realization.
Yes, that's wonderful. Yes, you have taken through. It's so wonderful to see Mataji. You are studying a lot of Bhagavatam and sending us bits.
Hari bol, Mata.
Yes, all glories to Deepa Mataji and Srila Prabhupada. Wonderful. And one thing that connected me in this verse and purport is that, same as a grass that fallen into a river touches through so many, wood stakes and so many things. So we are also going like that in the Janma Mrityu circle, going on and on and on and on. But all Vaishnavas press so much on this very life. And one Fridays in the village, one Prabhuji comes from Nizamabad, his grace, Raghunandan Prabhu. And he was telling Prabhujis and Matajis, don't get settled, that I will take a little bit easy this life and probably Krishna will give me next human birth and then I will practice like that. No, we should go in this life. We should go back in this life. What is the guarantee, just before Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time in Bengal, when people saw Gaudiya Vaishnavas with the dhoti, kurta and tilak and women in tilak and sari, they were talking to themselves like comparing devotees to prostitutes. There was one time like this just before Bhaktivinoda Thakur came, they see the tilak and they thought like this nonsense people. So people on the name of bhakti degraded to that level at one point. So what is the guarantee when you come in next life after 150 years, the bhakti will be like this in boom, you know. On Vaishnava traditions, always, you know, there was a high thing and then low tide. Amarendra Prabhu explains. No, there is no guarantee that there are devotees around, proper devotees around also, you know. And because of Bhaktivinoda Thakur then, and then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura, and then Srila Prabhupada, you know. Just before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, nobody in India knew the name of Radha Rani. And there was a cornfield and a rice field in the place of Shamakund and Radhakund. You know, we consider the Radhakund to be the highest place on earth for us Gaudiya Vaishnavas. But just before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu come, there was no Radhakund, Shamakund anymore. It was a cornfield. Then the Lord had to come and find out all these places. So there is no guarantee there will be bhakti. There is no guarantee there will be devotees around. Probably the temples will be there and people may put tilak, you know. Probably there is no devotion anymore. We just name on the namesake thing. So we don't have much time for all these lives, you know. So I'm definitely not the person to talk these things. But that's a fact that we should pack our bags. That's what this sadhu is telling here, you know. And like Mataji put, you know, there is all these things. And also there is going to be some taste because these desires are coming from many, many lifetimes. What is that? Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Param drishtva nivartate. If we cannot, if we are not able to increase the param drishti, the higher taste, the lower taste is not going away. And once we fixed up in that higher taste, then the lower taste becomes like, I was wasting my life for all this nonsense, all these years. His Grace Mahabhavi Prabhu, head of Norway, ISKCON Norway, puts it that way. And then once you come to that platform, that the taste, Param Drishti, to see Krishna, once you come to that platform, you feel like, why was I wasting my life like this? For these nonsense things, for the movies, for flirting with women, I was wasting this beautiful life of mine. Then he tells, those become irrelevant. But the thing is to really fasten seat belts and go to that Param Drishti. I had one desire to print a poster in the new house. Higher taste, simply. The poster should say, higher taste. By seeing again and again, I thought that would help. Higher taste. And higher taste on Krishna is the solution. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji and Mataji, please take the next one.
Yes, Prabhuji, can I?
Yes, Amma.
25. यदृच्छया लोकमिमं प्रापितः कर्म विभ्रमन् स्वर्गापवर्गयोर्द्वारं तिरश्चां पुनरस्य च. Translation. In the course of the evolution, Prabhuji,
You're not able to see Mataji? Should I put it in?
Yeah, this is it. Thank you. In the course of evolutionary process which is caused by fruitive activities due to undesirable material sense gratification, I have received this human form of life which can lead to the heavenly planets, to liberation, to the lower species, or to rebirth among human beings. So, purport. All the living entities within this material world are undergoing the cycle of birth and death according to the laws of nature. This struggle of birth and death in different species may be called evolutionary process, but in the Western world, it has been wrongly explained. Darwin's theory of evolution from animal to man is incomplete because the theory does not present the reverse condition, namely evolution from man to animal. In this verse, however, evolution has been very well explained on the strength of Vedic authority. Human life, which is obtained in the course of evolutionary process, is a chance for elevation, Swargapavarga, or the degradation, Dirishcham punar asyacha. If one uses this human form of life properly, he can elevate himself to the higher planetary systems, where material happiness is many thousands of times better than on this planet. Or one may cultivate knowledge by which to become free from the evolutionary process and be reinstated in one's original spiritual life. This is called apavarga or liberation. Material life is called pavarga because here we are subject to 5 different states of suffering represented by the letters pa, pha, ba, bha, and ma. Pa means parishrama, very hard labor. Fa means pena or foam from the mouth. For example, sometimes we see a horse foaming at the mouth with heavy labor. Ba means bhyartata, disappointment. In spite so much hard labor, at the end we find disappointment. Bha means bhaya or fear. In material life, one is always in the blazing fire or fear, since no one knows what will happen next. Finally, ma means mrityu or death. When one attempts to nullify these 5 different statuses of life, pa, bha, ba, bha, and ma, uh, one one achieves apavarga or liberation from the punishment of material existence. The word Tirasjam refers to the degraded life. Human life, of course, provides an opportunity for the best living conditions. As Western people think, from the monkeys
Hare Krishna Mataji.
degraded life. Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah, Mataji.
You want to explain, Prabhu?
No. Go ahead, Mataji. We lost your
Yeah.
voice, I think, for some time.
Okay, I think my internet is fluctuating. Let's continue. Yeah.
No problem.
As Western people think, from the monkeys come the human beings who are more comfortably situated. However, if one does not utilize this human life or for swarga or apavarga, he falls again to the degraded life of animals like dogs and hogs. Therefore, a sane human being must consider whether he will elevate himself to the higher planets, prepare to free himself from the evolutionary process, or travel again through the evolutionary process in higher and lower grades of life. If one works piously, one may be elevated to the higher planetary systems or achieve liberation and return home back to God ahead. But otherwise, one may be degraded to life as a dog, a hog, and so on. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 9.25, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan, those interested in being elevated to the higher planetary systems, Devaloka or Swargaloka, must prepare to do so. Similarly, if one wants liberation and wants to return home back to God ahead, he should prepare himself for that purpose. Once our Krishna consciousness movement is therefore the highest movement of for the benediction of human society, because this movement is teaching people how to go back home, back to God ahead. In Bhagavad Gita 13.22, it is clearly stated that different forms of life are obtained by association with the 3 modes of material nature. Karanam gunasango siyasad asad yani janmasu. Yoni janmasu, I'm sorry, Yoni janmasu. Modern civilization does not know that because of varied association in material nature, the living entity, although eternal, is placed in different diseased conditions known as the many species of life. Modern civilization is unaware of the laws of nature. Prakrite kriyamanaani gunai karmani sarvasah ahankara vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the 3 modes of material nature, thinks himself the performer of activities that are inactually carried out by nature. Bhagavad Gita 3.27. Every living entity is under the full control of stringent laws of material nature. but rascals think themselves independent. Actually, however, they cannot be independent. This is foolishness. A foolish civilization is extremely risky, and therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is trying to make people aware of their fully dependent condition under the stringent laws of nature and is trying to save them from being victimized by strong Maya, which is Krishna's external energy. Behind the material laws, is the supreme controller, Krishna, Maya Dhyakshena Prakritihi Sayate Sacharacharam. Therefore, if one surrenders unto Krishna, Mam Eva Prapadyante Mayam Etam Tarantite, one may immediately be freed from the control of external nature. Okay. Sagunan Samatyat. I'm sorry, I couldn't. Sagunam Samatithyaitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Okay. This should be the aim of life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada is spending so much time on explaining this verse, Mataji, which means should be very important. You want to share any thoughts or realizations, Mataji?
Prabhu, I'm really not comfortable in English, but I'll try to. So the thing is, here first, because Balgopani Prabhuji used to always say about this Apavarka. So
Yes.
in our Varnamala, what we learn in Telugu, Papa Babhama,
Yes,
he used to explain this one. So Apavarka means liberation. Of course, that means we will get rid of this Pavarka. What is this Pavarka? Papa Babhama gives you 5 different kinds of suffering.
Yes.
The first one, Pa, is Parishrama, the hard labor, just now our Prabhupada said.
Yes,
So just like even in Nectar of Instructions also we learn many times that we work for unnecessary things. So that means we are spending the whole day
Yes.
without using it. So that is it's a waste. The Parishrama is really not necessary. So yeah, it's I meant to say so limited thing is okay, but we are spending
Ugra
to
karma,
earn more. Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, that I couldn't. I'm unable to recall that word. So ugra karma, fa, pena. So nuraga antam Telugulo.
Yes.
General గా చనిపోయిన వాళ్ళకి వస్తుంది. So అలాగా. So he pena. So he gave an example of here horse and ba. So nirasha, disappointment. So even though we always think about our past or either the future. So this gives are always disappointment. Usually we don't stay in our present and we don't work for it. So actually the root cause of the disappointment is thinking of past or the future. So here the ba, that is also suffering, and the next bha represents the fear of the same thing, the future. So
Yes.
and last thing ma, so out of all, so even so ultimately everyone has to, it's inevitable, right, has to attain the mrityu. So
Yes.
so instead of worrying so much or doing the hard labor for necessary things, so if we uh, work for the devotional service, meant to say Krishna. So
Yes.
here and one more thing also been explained here about the devatas. So of course devatas gives us boons whatever we desired for, but that does not long last. So again once our account, the punya account is over, we have to again fall back onto this earth. Shine
Yes.
punyanti martyaloka vishanti. That's what we say here. So in the Bhagavad Gita, the same thing. Or otherwise, so punyaloka or apavarga is kind of okay when we go into the sattva guna. But
Yes.
if these two things are not open, the otherwise, the next one is so the degraded life of horse and tongue. So we go to the lower planetary systems if we do papa. So that's what I understood, Prabhu. So, Hare
Yes.
Krishna.
Amazing, Mata. You put it very nicely. Thank you so
Thank
much. Srila Prabhupada explained many things, and there is a beautiful lecture of Srila Prabhupada on this verse. We have a fortune of playing a quiz, which enables us watch a Srila Prabhupada lecture one time. And our languages are so rich, just by these things, they explain life. This is the problem. And opposite to this is liberation. Srila Prabhupada has amazing lecture on this verse, explaining Pavarga. And also on this Anushilanam. Which verse was that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes. You can read that. Anushilanam, we read one verse just some time ago. That Deepa Mataji read. On that also, Srila Prabhupada has amazing lecture. On one word, he spends a lot of time, Anushila, by getting into the process of knowing Krishna. We are done with this now. Just we need to read 25 now.
A previous verse was Anyabhilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karma Dhyanavrit.
Which one number, Mataji?
The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhulo undi.
Yes. It's the purport at the end. Srila Prabhupada has a lecture on that verse, Mataji, very beautifully.
24th దాంట్లో last లో వచ్చింది.
Yes, Mataji. Yes, please. Who wants to take next? Somebody unmuted. Is it 25 now? I think so. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Amma, go ahead.
Text 25. Prabhuji, can
You want to read the Sanskrit translation?
Yeah.
24 అనుకో 26 అనుకుంటా. ఇప్పుడే 25 చదివారు.
అవును Prabhuji.
Yes.
26.
You're right.
Yeah. Tatrapedam pratinam cha sukayan yapanuttaye karmani kurvatam drishtva nivrittosmi viparyayam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In this human form of life, men and women unite for the sensual pleasure of sex, but by actual experience, we have observed that none of them are happy. Therefore, seeing the contrary result, I have stopped taking part in materialistic activities. Purport.
That sadhu is telling, na, Mataji, that saint is telling, why he is being very stalled there in one place. Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji. Purport. As stated by Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj, Yan Maitunadi Grihamedi Sukam Hi Tucham. Man and woman both seek sexual enjoyment, and when they are united by the ritualistic ceremony of marriage, they are happy for some time. But finally, there is dissension, and thus there are so many cases of separation and divorce. Although every man and woman is actually eager to enjoy life through sexual unity, thus result is disunity and distress. Marriage is recommended to give men and women a concession for restricted sex life, which is also recommended in the Bhagavad Gita by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi. Sex life not against the principle of religion is Krishna. Every living entity is always eager to enjoy sex life because materialistic life consists of eating, sleeping, sex, and fear. In animal life, eating, sleeping, sexual enjoyment, and fear cannot be regulated. But for human society, the plan is that although men, like animals, must not be allowed to eat, sleep, enjoy sex, and take protection from fear, they must be regulated. The Vedic plan for eating recommends that one take yajna stita or prasada, food offered to Krishna. Yajna stita shinaha santo muchyante sarva kilbishaihi. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food that is offered first for sacrifice. Bhagavad Gita 3.13. In material life, one commits sinful activities, especially in eating, and because of sinful activities, one is condemned by nature's law to accept another body, which is imposed as punishment. Sex and eating are essential, and therefore they are offered to human society under Vedic restriction, so that according to the Vedic injunctions, people may eat, sleep, enjoy sex, be protected from fearful life, and gradually be elevated and liberated from the punishment of material existence. Thus, the Vedic injunction for marriage offer a concession to human society, the idea being that a man and woman united in a ritualistic marriage ceremony should help one another advance in spiritual life. Unfortunately, especially in this age, men and women unite for unrestricted sexual enjoyment. Thus, they are victimized, being obliged to take rebirth in the forms of animals to fulfill their animalistic propensities. The Vedic injunction, therefore, warn Nayam deho deha bhajam nriloke kashtan kaman arhate with bhujam ye. One should not enjoy sex life like hogs and eat everything, even to a limit of stool. A human being should eat prasada offered to the deity and should enjoy sex life according to the Vedic injunction. He should engage himself in the business of Krishna consciousness. He should save himself from the fearful condition of material existence, and he should sleep only to recover from the fatigue due to working hard. The learned Brahmana said that since everything is misused by fruitive workers, he had retired from all fruitive activities. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for reading. Yes, we can do everything like the Lord is said here. Yagna Shishtashinas Santo Muchante Sarvakil Vishay Bunyate Tvagam Papa E Pachanyat Makarana. By offering it to me, it is not becoming Papa anymore. Right? So we do it as an offering to the Lord by eating, all the works, all the desires we redirect towards the Lord is what she. Yes, Prabhu and Mataji. Please take the next one. This is also very nice. Answers for us from Sadhu. Then I can take it. Sukam asyatmano rupam sarveha paratistanuhu manaha samparshajanam sajan društva bhogan swapsyami sambisyan. The actual form of life for the living entities is one of spiritual happiness, which is real happiness. This happiness can be achieved only when one stops all materialistic activities. Material sense enjoyment is simply an imagination. Material sense enjoyment simply is an imagination. Therefore, considering this subject matter, I have ceased from all material activities and am lying down here. The difference between the philosophy and of the Mayavadis and that of the Vaishnavas is explained herein. Both the Mayavadis and Vaishnavas know that the materialistic activities, there is no happiness. The Mayavadi philosophers, therefore, adhering to the slogan, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, want to refrain from false materialistic activities. They want to stop all activities and merge in the Supreme Brahman. According to the Vaishnava philosophy, however, if one simply ceases from the materialistic activity, one cannot remain inactive for very long. Therefore, everyone should engage himself in spiritual activities, which will solve the problem of suffering in the material world. It is said, therefore, that although the Mayavadi philosophers strive to refrain from materialistic activities and merge in Brahman, although they may actually merge in the Brahman existence, for want of activity, they fell down again into materialistic activity. Aruhya krichena param padam tata patantya adaha. Thus, the so-called renouncer, unable to remain in meditation upon Brahman, returns to materialistic activities by opening hospitals and schools and so on. Therefore, simply cultivating knowledge that materialistic activities cannot give one happiness and that one should consequently cease from such activities is insufficient. One should cease from materialistic activities and take up spiritual activities. Then the solution to the problem will be achieved. Spiritual activities are activities performed according to the order of Krishna, Anukulyena, Krishnanushilanam. Yes, this came again, according to the Krishna's desire. If one does whatever Krishna says, his activities are not material. For example, when Arjuna fought in response to the order of Krishna, his activities were not material. Fighting for sense gratification is a materialistic activity, but fighting by the order of Krishna is spiritual. By spiritual activities, one becomes eligible to go back to Godhead and then enjoy blissful life eternally. Here in the material world, everything is but a mental concoction that will never give us real happiness. The practical solution, therefore, is to cease from materialistic activities and engage in spiritual activities. Yagnartat karmano anyatra loko yam karma bandhanaha. If one works for the sake of pleasing the Supreme Lord, Yagna or Vishnu, one is in liberated life. If one fails to do so, however, he remains in life of bondage. What is the takeaway here? Take up spiritual activities. Tivrena bhakti yogena, yena kena prakarena. By any means, beg for the service. Or else, this is simply he also explains going further to a deer looking for water in a well that is, covered with grass. There is water nearby, but it cannot see it. So it goes on and on throughout the world, but cannot find the water. So is the case with us. We are not able to see the real happiness, hence is unhappiness. Let us hear more from the sadhu. 2-3 more verses. Yes, Prabhuji and Mataji, please take the next one and help me.
27th shloka, after 28, Prabhu.
28, Mataji.
Yeah, 28. इत्येतदात्मनः स्वार्थं सन्तं विस्मृत्य वै पुमान् विचित्रामसति द्वैते घोरमाप्नोति संस्कृतिम्. So, in translation, in this way, the conditioned soul living within the body forgets his self-interest because he identifies himself with the body. Because the body is material, his natural tendency is to be attracted by the varieties of material world. Thus, the living entity suffers the miseries of material existence. Purport. Everyone is trying to be happy because, as explained in the previous verse, Sukham Ashyatmo Rupam. A minute. Sukham Asyatmano Rupam Sarvaho Paritastamaha. When the living entity is in his original spiritual form, he is happy by nature. There is no question of miseries for the spiritual being. As Krishna is always happy, the living entities who are his parts and parcels are also happy by nature. But because of being put within this material world and forgetting the eternal relationship with Krishna, they have forgotten their real nature. Because every one of us is a part of Krishna, we have a very affectionate relationship with him. But because we have forgotten our identities, are considering the body to be self, we are afflicted by all the troubles of birth, death, old age, and disease. This misconception in materialistic life continues unless and until one comes to understand his relationship with Krishna. The happiness sought by the conditioned soul is certainly only illusion, as explained in the next verse.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, 29 shloka.
Yes, Mataji.
जलं तदुद्भवैश्चन्नं हित्वाग्नो जलकाम्यया मृगतृष्णामुपाधावेत् तथान्यत्रार्थदृक्स्वतः. Translation. Just as deer, because of ignorance, cannot see the water within a well covered by grass, but runs after water elsewhere, the living entity covered by the material body does not see the happiness within himself, but runs after happiness in the material world. Yeah, Hare Krishna, very true. Yeah, perfect. Hare Krishna. This is an accurate example depicting how the living entity, because of lack of knowledge, runs after happiness outside his own self. When one understands his real identity as a spiritual being, he can understand the supreme spiritual being, Krishna, and the real happiness exchange between Krishna and oneself. It is very interesting to note how this verse points to the body's growth from the spirit soul. The modern materialistic scientist thinks that life grows from matter, but actually, the fact is that matter grows from life. The life or the spiritual soul is compared herein to water, from which clumps of matter grow in the form of grass. One who is ignorant of scientific knowledge of the spirit soul does not look inside the body to find happiness in the soul. Instead, he goes outside to search for happiness, just as a deer without knowledge of water beneath the grass goes out of the desert to find water. The Krishna consciousness movement is trying to remove the ignorance of misled human beings who for trying to find water outside the jurisdiction of life. Raso vai saha, rasoham apsu kaunteya. The taste of water is Krishna. To quench one's thirst, one must taste water by association with Krishna. This is Vedic injunction. Hare Krishna. Wonderful. Prabhupada. Wonderful.
Yes, Mataji, so nice verse. So Sadhu is explaining the miseries of material happiness, you know. It's not there. It's like we have this wonderful quote from Srila Prabhupada also. Na? It's like water in the desert, this oasis. Person goes and goes and goes and thinks there is happiness, but there is no water. It's just an illusion, right? Similar thing, living entity, despite knowing that there is no water, and he runs and runs and runs. And yeah,
30th.
yes, Mataji, please, someone, one of you, please take 30.
Yeah, I will read Mataji. Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. देहाद्भिर्दैवतन्त्रे आत्मना मनाशुकं तथा दुःखत्यायं चिन्तस्य क्रियमोग कृत Translation purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The living entity tries to achieve happiness and rid himself of the cause of distress, but because the various bodies of the living entities are under the full control of material nature, all his plans in different bodies, one after another, are ultimately baffled. Purport. Because the materialist is in gross ignorance of how the laws of material nature act upon him as a result of the fruitive activity, he mistakenly plans to enjoy bodily comfort in the human form of life through so-called economic development. Though through pious activities for elevation to the higher planetary systems and in many other ways, but facially he becomes a victim of the reaction of his fruitive activities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated as the super soul within the course of the hearts of all living entities, as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 15.15. सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्ता स्मृतिर्ज्ञानम् अपोहनं च. I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. The desires and the desires and activities of the living beings are observed by the super soul, who is the Upadrashta, the overseer, and the one and who orders material nature to fulfill the various desires of the living being. As clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita 18.61, Ishvara sarma bhutanam hrideshe arjuna tishtati brahmyam sarva bhutani yantradhani mayayati mayaya. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart, and as one desires, the Lord gives one various types of bodies, which are like machines. Riding on such a machine, the living entity wanders throughout the universe under the control of the material nature and its modes. Thus, the living being is not at all free to act, but is fully under the control of material nature, which is fully under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As soon as the living entity is victimized by material desires to lord it our material nature, he is subjected to the control of material nature, which is supervised by the supreme soul. The result is the result is that one again and again makes plans and is baffled, but as foolish as he is, cannot see the cause of his bafflement. This cause is distinctly stated in Bhagavad Gita. One has not surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He must work under the control of material nature and its stringent laws. Daivihe Esha Gunamayi Mayamaya Duratyaya. The only means of becoming free from the entanglement is to surrender to the Supreme Lord. In the human form of life, the living entity must accept this instruction from the Supreme Person, Krishna. sarvadharma parityajya mamekam saranam raja. Do not plan to achieve happiness and drive away distress. You will never be successful. Simply surrender unto me. Unfortunately, however, the living entity does not accept the Supreme Lord's clearly stated instructions from Bhagavad Gita, and thus he becomes a perpetual captive of the laws of material nature. Yajn- Yajnadat karmano Nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. If one does not act for the satisfaction of Krishna, who is known as Vishnu or Yajna, he must be entangled in the reactions of fruity activities. These reactions are called papa and punya, sinful and pious. By pious activities, one is elevated to the higher planetary systems, and by impious activities, one is degraded to lower spaces of life, in which he is punished by the laws of nature. In the lower spaces of life, there is an evolutionary process, and when the term of the living entity's imprisonment or punishment in the lower spaces is finished, he is again offered a human form and given a chance to decide for himself which way he should plan. If he again misses the opportunity, he is again put it in the cycle of birth and death, going sometimes higher and sometimes lower, returning on the samsara chakra, the wheel of material existence. As a wheel, as a wheel sometimes goes up and sometimes comes down, the stringent laws of material nature make the living entity in material existence sometimes happy and sometimes distressed. How he suffers in the cycle of happiness and distress is described in the next verse. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. These next three verses are so wonderful, Prabhuji. Forgive me, I lost the control of time. We are 17 minutes over time. Kindly forgive me about that. Shilpa Mataji, can I stop it at 30, please? You gave me 31 and 32. I think it's a little late to devotees.
Okay, Prabhuji. We'll continue next week. No problem. We can do till 30.
Yes, Mataji. The 30 we are done just now. And this sadhu is going to give, please do not miss the next session, Bhagavatam session. And this sadhu is going to give wonderful, wonderful instructions. What is going to come next is even more beautiful than what we have read today. That is something to be watched, please do that. If you have any questions or comments, I know we are already late, but we can spend 1 or 2 minutes, please. Anybody wants to share some comment or question, or anybody wants to correct something, kindly do. Prabhuji and Mataji, any comments or questions? If not, we can.
Prabhuji, just a doubt, Prabhuji. The
Yes,
sadhu,
ma'am.
he said he is retreated from all activities. Then how did he, matlab, like the original point started, how did he become fat, Anadi? That is only when he's eating and not doing anything, kada. But he is retreated from all activities. So how do we understand that?
అది వెండి తెర పైన చూడాల్సిందే నెక్స్ట్ వీక్.
Okay.
Those answers are coming next week, Mataji, and that's actually very, very wonderful answers. ఈ ఆన్సర్స్ అన్నీ అక్కడ ఉన్నాయి మాతాజీ. నెక్స్ట్ చెప్తాడు, ఆయనే చెప్తాడు. How he has become eat, how he has become fat, all these things he will explain.
Oh, okay, Prabhuji.
That's going to come next week. I don't want to reveal the secret. It's so beautiful. You want to read, you can. But yes, let's take it next week. Yes, anyone else? If not, it's already late. Kindly forgive me about the time. If nobody has anything. Yes, Srivali Mataji, I see you unmuted.
Yes, Prabhu, I could now.
Yes,
I'm
Amma.
sorry. Yeah, my stupid phone is giving it. Prabhu, actually, I want to know who is the Savaduta, Prabhu. Actually, he's Avaduta, I knew because
That's
I heard
also a secret, Mataji.
that is also secret. Okay, Prabhu.
You
So he
want
must be our Jadabharat. Can I guess?
not Jadabharat, not
Not
Rishabhat.
Jadabharat. Okay. Because
It's
Prahlad Maharaj may not meet. Yeah, I know.
the next week is going to be really, really interesting.
Oh, really interesting. Okay. Okay. Because I
Forgive me,
didn't
Mataji,
know
for
that
not
he has.
revealing, because you
No,
will.
no, Prabhu. Actually, yeah, we are excited to know even later. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Dear Pambhos. Thank you so much for giving your time on Sunday morning. That's wonderful. Thank you so much at your lotus feet. Let us read Vanchakalpa and close the call then. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm duly grateful for giving this chance, dear Prabhujis and Matajis. Shilpa Mataji, thank you so much for giving opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for the wonderful class. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Dhanavad pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you for wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Prabhuji,
Hare
Dandat
Krishna.
Pranam.
Dandat Pranam, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
ఆడ ఫిక్స్ ఓపెన్ చేస్తాడు చూడు మంట పుట్టిద్ది